Hey you guys, how's it going? This is StarcraftCove here with another pro replay for you from StarCraft 2 at MLG Dallas. This is going to be between one of my personal favorites just to watch pro replays. It's going to be IdrA, that's Evil Geniuses, that's the team that he plays for in Korea. And it's going to be against Liquid Nazgul, so one of the members of Team Liquid here in the States. So I believe this is MLG Dallas, like I mentioned, round 3. And this is actually, I couldn't find the first replay to this series. It's going to be best of 3 since it is just round of 3, or the third round, excuse me. So I couldn't find the first replay, so if any of you guys want me to cast that one and know where that one can be found, I looked on StarCraft 2 Replayed and GameReplays.com or something, a couple different places, and I just, for some reason, everywhere just had the second and third games hosted, but not the first. So if you guys want to send that one to me, I can definitely cast that one as well, but I'm going to go ahead and start with the second game here. Let's see here. So I haven't actually seen the first game, but it's pretty safe to assume that Liquid Nazgul here, the blue Protoss player, won the first game, because rules usually are for tournaments that the loser after every game gets to pick the next map. So that would be IdrA here on Scrap Station, since that's a pretty recent Zerg favorite map. You know, the Zerg favorited maps are definitely going to be this one, which is you're starting to see this one more often be chosen by Zerg players, especially at the high levels, since it really, especially for you know, high level macro style Zerg players, it's especially beneficial for them because they have so much time, because the rush distance here is so great along this curve that it really allows them to expand early with this natural expansion down here, which is a pretty easy natural to defend once you can extend the creep down to this middle area and then just move a couple spine crawlers down. So we might see some of that from IdrA. But it looks like he is going for a fairly standard macro-oriented Zerg opener with, I believe, I wasn't paying attention to the exact numbers as they were coming along, but I would assume that this was a 14 hatch into a 14 pool. Meanwhile, Nazgul over here got probably a standard gate. He isn't doing anything too aggressive. So standard gate into cybernetics core. So basically just the standard Protoss gradual tech build. So IdrA has his Overlord hanging out. This would be a good opener spot for IdrA to be able to move in here at any point in the game, just to scout Nazgul's entire base and by sacrificing that Overlord. And if he doesn't want to do that, he can also move it down here along this bottom ridge down to the natural, just using this open space where he can't get shut down, to see the exact timing of when Nazgul's expansion is going to go down. So once again, IdrA's playing, you know, just macro style, just pumping as many drones as possible. He does have his first queen out now, going to be pooping that creep tumor, and then either moving that down, or actually, excuse me, that's just spawned this other queen down here at the natural expansion. So just working on pumping drones. You can see he has even more drones in production, and working on metabolic boost for his Zerglings. Even though, okay, so he does have 2 Zerglings on the field, and actually, let's see here. So he's got one camping the watchtower right here. It looks like it's going to be lost to these stalkers though. So Nazgul does have those 2 stalkers moving out, and IdrA is going to be, now that he sees that those 2 stalkers are out of position, so he can come in here and hopefully scout the Protoss base. But actually, Nazgul's coming down here with a pylon to actually completely block this off, just to give himself enough time to kill off that Zergling, so the Zergling cannot get in to scout this Protoss base. That was a really good move, because he can just easily cancel that pylon, only lose a couple of resources out of it, because Nazgul just really did not want IdrA scouting his whole entire base. So he would have been able to see the Twilight Council, and since he has the stalkers out, IdrA would have been able to safely assume that would be teching into blink stalkers. But once again, a really good scout denial from Nazgul there, just by placing that pylon and then canceling it as soon as that Zergling is dead. So I'm really liking IdrA's Overlord placement here. He's got one right here on the high ground that can basically see this whole entire choke right here. So he knows he was able to see those stalkers coming in and defend for that appropriately. Not that he would have to overcommit too many resources or anything. Meanwhile, he is just producing quite a few Zerglings. He's going to be moving this one out to grab that watchtower. And Nazgul's going to be pressing out here with quite a few stalkers. So it's kind of surprising to see. I guess Nazgul hasn't really scouted IdrA that much yet, so he doesn't really know that IdrA's not. Here, he doesn't actually have any roach warren down, which is since that last patch, that's increased the roach range up to 4, which has actually made them, be able to range decently on, opposing forces, ranged attackers as well. A lot of times, games for Zerg will recently, almost every single Zerg uses roaches in their games now, but yeah, Nazgul just doesn't realize that IdrA is just really going hardcore Zerglings right now. So moving in, these stalkers are going to get pretty easily surrounded by all these Zerglings. Then the Hydras are going to be backing that up with the ranged fires. So that's probably going to be pretty easy for the rest of these Zerglings to, cleaning that up. Nazgul was trying to blink away, but he couldn't blink past these rocks, either because he didn't have vision of it, or he just wasn't close enough to the rocks that he could get over the rocks with his blink. So IdrA cleaning this up, the rest of that attack, cleaning off that pylon that went down for the proxy pylon in case Nazgul was going to need to quickly reinforce this, but he just didn't have the forces to be able to push into the Zerg's base. We can look at the income now since, let's see, IdrA's been sitting on this early expansion for quite a while, and Nazgul still does not have his natural expansion at all. So you can see that IdrA has quite the advantage in the income, just because he's been able to produce those drones and be able to sit on that natural expansion for pretty much the entire game so far, without any effective economy damage coming from Nazgul. So he's still pressing in with just stalkers, and I mean, these Hydras and Zerglings are basically exactly what you need to be able to counter stalkers, and that's, I mean, even without those Zerglings to be able to kind of pin those stalkers down, these Hydras would probably be able to take out these stalkers by themselves. And Liquid Nazgul, realizing that, is going to pull back, and he may not know that these rocks are actually completely destroyed now, though. So he's going to be going the long way around, while IdrA just runs in here with all of his Zerglings and his Hydras, and it's basically going to put him in a perfect position. It's going to force Nazgul to have to defend his base in one of the most awkward positions that he'd have to. So these Zerglings are going to be able to get a good position on them and just surround stalkers as they try to blink away, while the Hydras and even more Zerglings coming in from behind to just clean up those stalkers. So that's going to be the GG. That was a pretty one-sided game. IdrA was able to handle that, this blink stalker build, even though he didn't scout it early, because that well-placed pylon to deny that scout, he still just went, the exact build that he needed to counter all those blink stalkers. So that's game 2. That is now 1 game for Nazgul and 1 game for IdrA. So we're going to go ahead and move on to game 3 now, and that'll be, we'll see how that wraps up the match, how that'll wrap up the series, and then we'll move on to another series. I'm actually kind of in a casting mood tonight, so we'll be getting quite a few out of the way. So that's it. That's been StarcraftCove. Thanks for watching, guys. Feel free to give it a thumbs up or comment. Always appreciated. And see you in the next replay. Thanks. Have a good one. Bye.